You never know, you can be sitting at a table and somebody will throw out some anecdote and your novelist's antenna goes straight up, and I've never gone out looking for an idea. They've always come to me. My first novel, I was hiking in the Peak District in England, and we saw a sign that said Eam Plague Village. And I thought, well, not many places try to attract tourists by putting up a sign saying Plague Village. And we went there, and the story of how the town had quarantined itself to save the surrounding communities just really took a hold of my imagination. And then for my recent novel, Caleb's Crossing, I was looking at a map of Martha's Vineyard Island, and I noticed a note on the map that said birthplace of the first Native American to graduate from Harvard. And I thought, how cool is that? Maybe I'll meet him at the local library. And then I saw the date was 1665. And I wondered, how did that happen? How was it that a young man raised in his own language and culture ended up sitting down and studying in Latin with the sons of the Puritan colonial elite? So you never know. I read wildly as a kid. I lived for books, so all the usual children's authors. And then when I was in my teens, I came across the British writer Mary Renaud, who wrote about the ancient world, the Greek world, and I fell in love with her way of connecting to history, taking you to a very different time and place and way of thinking, but with recognizable characters, with characters that you could relate to. So she was quite inspirational. And then I guess recent writers who've inspired me would be Marilyn Robinson. I think her book Gilead is as close as I've ever read to a perfect novel. I work when my kids are at school. The school bus is kind of my clock in, so as soon as the school bus takes them away, I sit down and I try my best to glue my backside to the chair until they come home. And they're older now, it's not like they need me hovering every minute, but I found that that school day bunch of time is a good amount of time to be actually sitting writing. And then when I'm doing things with them later in the day, sometimes ideas jog loose when I'm not thinking about it directly. Probably Silent Spring, because I think that the concerns that are raised in that book are so relevant to us now when we're again pushing the natural world to its limits. And I think that book is inspiring because it created so much change in the way people thought, and it would be great if somebody could do that again for us now as we confront climate change and all the tremendous losses to the natural world that we're going to suffer if we don't get our act together. I think I would like to be shelved in poetry because I love to read poetry. I don't know how to write it. So it's not the anxiety that you might have or the sense of inferiority that you might have being shelved among your peers. I can just enjoy being with the poets. I am working on a book. It's called The Secret Chord, and it's exploring the relationship between David and the prophet Nathan. And it interested me that Nathan doesn't turn up too often in David's story, but when he does, it's usually to tell the king he sucks. And I thought, well, what is the career path for that guy? I was in great difficulties with people of the book because it's such a sprawling story. It covers 5 countries and 6 centuries, and I wasn't sure about the connective tissue. I was having a lot of trouble with the World War II section. And I'm basically tearing my hair out. And then this other idea flies in the window, gift wrapped. and I can see exactly how to write that book. And it's a very compact idea. It's 1 year at war for the father of Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. And so I thought, I'm going to do that. So I did that, and then I had to, with great trepidation, pull out the pages that I'd written before of People of the Book and see if there was anything there. And I found that while the pages were sitting in that drawer, a lot of things became clear to me. It became clear that I had the wrong narrator, that I didn't have her voice right. She was originally going to be Bosnian. I just wasn't hearing her. And that was one change. And then I decided to solve the problem of the World War II section by sticking as absolutely close to the truth of what happened as I could. So I put my reporter's hat back on and went and reported the hell out of what happened to the Haggadah during World War II. And then the fiction came more easily, and I found I was able to sail to the end. It's a very confusing time in the publishing side of book writing, but I think as a writer you can't think about that too much. You just have to do what you do and trust that the material will find its way to the readers somehow. But my advice is probably the same as it's always been, which is get some good books, put them in your backpack, and then travel. Go as far as you can afford to go, preferably some place where you have to speak in a language that you don't think in, and stay there until your money runs out, because no matter what happens, everything that you write after that will be affected by the experience of putting yourself in a different place. At the moment we're working within spitting distance of each other. We're just a whole way apart. So it's very evident how the other one's day is going. If there's a lot of, cursing and throwing pencils and pacing, it's clear that it's not flowing quite the way we always wish it would. But yeah, we edit each other's work and we bounce ideas off each other. And Tony is a wonderful reader for me because he loves reading fiction, but he's quite an impatient reader, and if a book's not holding him, he will set it aside and move on. And that's useful because then, I can tell if I've got, a boring flat bit in the novel, he'll be a good litmus test for that.